Adam was about to slide into his seat, but Tyler slammed his legs onto the desk, blocking him and mocking him with a smirk. Words weren't needed. The arrogance and contempt radiating from Tyler filled the room. What began as a simple classroom dispute over a desk quickly spiraled into something much darker. The sneers, the glares, the hushed whispers made it clear this was about race, not space. Every heartbeat pulsed with tension as Adam realized that standing his ground could change everything in a single moment. How far would Tyler go to assert dominance, and what would it cost Adam to fight back? Adam had always been a quiet student, focused on his studies and determined to succeed. Every morning he arrived early, backpack slung over one shoulder, headphones tucked in, ready to tackle another day of lectures and assignments. The classroom was his space to think, to learn, and to escape the chaos of the outside world for a little while. He knew most of his classmates only casually, keeping his circle small but dependable. Tyler, on the other hand, had a reputation that preceded him, loud, brash, and unafraid to push boundaries. Many students had learned to give him space, shrugging off his arrogance and biting their tongues rather than challenging him. But Adam had never let anyone intimidate him before. That morning, as sunlight filtered through the classroom windows, Adam's focus was on the lecture notes he had spread across the desk. He didn't notice Tyler approaching, a smug grin playing across his face. Something about the way Tyler moved suggested this wasn't going to be a normal day. Something about his stare hinted that this time, Adam might be in the crosshairs of a confrontation he hadn't anticipated. Little did Adam know, the seemingly ordinary moment of sliding into his seat would soon ignite a chain of events that challenged not only his patience, but the very boundaries of respect. Pride and courage, Adam tried to keep his composure, sliding slightly forward to fit into the seat Tyler had now claimed as his own. Tyler's legs were still sprawled across the desk, a smirk of superiority plastered on his face. Around them, the classroom had begun to take notice, curious eyes, subtle whispers, but no one intervened. Each second stretched, every heartbeat pounding like a drum in Adam's chest. He shifted, trying to reach for his notebook, but Tyler leaned back lazily, crossing his arms and staring at him as if daring him to challenge the claim. The air grew heavier with tension, an invisible line drawn between them. Adam could feel the flush of heat rising in his face, not from embarrassment, but from the sharp sting of injustice. This wasn't about a seat. It was about dominance, about a silent assertion of power, fueled by prejudice that had gone unchecked for too long. The teacher arrived, oblivious to the silent battle raging at the front. Tyler barely moved, letting the legs drape across the desk like a flag of conquest, while Adam carefully set his bag on the floor. Every subtle gesture Tyler made felt like a challenge, a provocation. The whispers grew louder, some curious, some amused, others complicit in their silence. Adam's mind raced. He had faced disagreements before, but never like this. Never with someone who seemed intent on turning a simple act into a public assertion of superiority. Then it happened. Tyler leaned forward slightly, just enough for a whispered remark to escape his lips. Not loud, but venomous, sharp enough for Adam to hear. A ripple of laughter followed from the few who had gathered attention, and Adam could feel the weight of the room pressing down on him. He took a slow breath, trying to steady his shaking hands, the tension in his shoulders, the heat in his face. Every instinct screamed to retreat, to let it slide. But something deeper, the quiet, unwavering resolve that had carried him through years of focus and determination, held firm. As the lecture progressed, Tyler escalated. He began tapping on Adam's desk, knocking over his pens, smirking as he did it, relishing the irritation he could provoke. Each movement was deliberate, a calculated test of patience. Adam felt a surge of anger, but he forced himself to remain calm. He knew any rash move could give Tyler the satisfaction he craved. Around them, students either watched silently or pretended not to notice, leaving Adam isolated in the struggle, yet more determined than ever to maintain his dignity. Every glance from Tyler, every subtle act of intimidation built a pressure so thick it seemed to choke the air. The whispers became a low hum of scrutiny. The once familiar classroom had transformed into a stage, with Adam unwillingly cast in a scene he had never auditioned for. Each second stretched into a minute, each movement deliberate, each silence deafening. He realized the confrontation wasn't just about the seat anymore. It was about standing up to a force that seemed almost untouchable in its arrogance. By the time the bell rang for the next class, the tension had not eased. It had grown sharper, edged with anticipation. Tyler's smirk remained unbroken, as if daring Adam to make a move. And Adam, heart racing but mind clear, understood that the real battle had only just begun. One wrong step, one lapse in focus, and everything could spiral out of control. Yet, deep inside, a flicker of courage sparked, an unspoken resolve that he would not let this moment define him. The classroom erupted in chaos. Tyler had shoved Adam's books across the floor again, his smirk widening as a few students chuckled at the display. The arrogance, the mockery, the sheer audacity. It all pressed down on Adam like a weight he couldn't shake. Every instinct screamed to back down, to let Tyler have his moment, but Adam's discipline, his calm and his sense of dignity held him steady. Then the unthinkable happened. As Tyler prepared to escalate, thinking no one would intervene, the door swung open. The room went silent as the principal stepped in, his eyes scanning the scene and landing on Adam. A collective gasp filled the classroom. Whispers exploded into stunned murmurs. Adam wasn't just any student. He was the principal's son. Tyler froze, the arrogance draining from his face. The power dynamic had shifted instantly. The room that had seemed stacked against Adam now trembled with a new tension, one that Tyler hadn't anticipated. Every movement, every word he had used to intimidate now hung in the air like a challenge he couldn't meet. Adam's chest rose with steady breaths, his calmness radiating like a force that filled the space. The whispers grew louder, some sympathetic, some in disbelief. Tyler's smirk faltered, his bravado cracking under the weight of the revelation. The realization hit him. All his intimidation, all his attempts to assert dominance, had collided with an authority he had never accounted for. Adam's quiet courage, disciplined composure, and unwavering focus had brought him to this pivotal moment. In that charged silence, the room held its collective breath. Tyler stared, powerless for the first time, while Adam straightened fully, meeting his gaze with calm resolve. This confrontation, meant to humiliate, had turned into a lesson in courage, respect, and the unexpected consequences of arrogance. And in the stunned pause that followed, one thought echoed through every mind in the classroom. How far would Tyler go when the boy he underestimated carried the authority of a principal and the courage to stand unshaken? The classroom finally settled into silence. Tyler sat frozen, the weight of the principal's gaze heavy on him, realizing for the first time that arrogance and intimidation had consequences. Adam straightened his posture, a quiet mix of relief and pride washing over him. He had stood his ground, not with aggression, but with courage and dignity, and it had made a difference. Later, the principal addressed the matter decisively. Tyler was called out for his bullying, his behavior documented, and consequences were enforced. It was a moment of accountability, one that reminded everyone in the room that prejudice, cruelty, and intimidation could not go unchecked, even when they seemed invisible or normalized. Adam's actions had not only defended his own dignity, but had exposed the truth. Injustice can be challenged, and courage matters. For Adam, the day left a lasting impression. It was more than a victory over a single student. It was a lesson in resilience, self-respect, and the power of standing firm against oppression. And for the classmates who had watched silently, it was a reminder that complicity enables injustice, while action, even small, quiet action can shift the balance. The incident, while resolved in the classroom, reflected a larger reality. Racism and bullying often hide in subtle gestures, in smirks, in the silent assumption of superiority. Yet moments like these, when courage meets authority and justice is upheld, offer hope and a blueprint for change. As Adam walked out that day, the hallways no longer felt intimidating. They felt like spaces where respect and dignity could be defended. And for everyone who had witnessed the confrontation, one question lingered. How many more Tyler moments go unchecked in schools, workplaces, and communities? How many more times must courage rise to confront injustice before the world truly listens?